Hi, today we will solve a tax-related problem using a progressive taxation system. So here is a table of a such a system. In that table, we can see that the first range goes from $0 to $1,000, and it would be taxed at 0%. The next range goes from $1,000 to $5,000 and is taxed at 10%. etc. So with an example for $6,000, and we can see that it would be taxed $650. For that, it decomposed in two taxations because the first $1,000 is not taxed, then the next $4,000 are taxed at 10%, and then the next $1,000 is taxed at 25%. And you can see that 5,000 plus 1,000 is indeed 6,000. So we have the full taxation and it would be 650. Now we know that someone was taxed $3,950 and we want to find the net income. So for that, we will need to do some intermediate calculation, and we can't use linear algebra because it's not linear, it's a piecewise function. That means that depending on the range where you are, the function is different, or we can say it like that. So that's a set of if here, if we are in the first range, it's a function that would be times 0. If we are in the second range, that would be times 10%, etc. So the first thing we want to do is to add this bracket percent, and there we just did compute the taxation for the range itself. So from 1,000 to 5,000, the full range would cost 400 in taxes. Then the next is like from 5,000 to 15,000, which would be 10,000 at 25%. That would cost 2,500. That's all it is. And that's not still not very useful because we know that we are taxed 3,950, and we need to know in which bracket we would fall. And for that, we need to know the percentage where it would fall. So what we do is we would add a running sum, which is just a sum that is done on the previous element. So that's the running sum, and you can see that it's 500 plus 0, 400 plus 0, then 400. Then 2,500 plus 400 gives 2,900, and then 2,900 plus 5,250 gives 8,150. So now we need to find where we would fall into that running sum. So we just compare until we will find one number that is greater, which would be 8,150, which is bigger than 3,950. So we are before that, and we are after 2,900. So that means that we are in the bracket 15,000 to 30,000. Good. And now we need to do some computation to find the net income, and for that we need to know where in that bracket that we found we will land. And for that we need to know how far we are in that bracket as a tax. So what we do is we will do the tax itself minus what would be taxed if we were at the end of the previous bracket, which is the beginning of this bracket. And then we have a result that is how far we are in that bracket. So we are $1,050 of taxes into that bracket. So that would be how far we are from 0 to that number. So we will use a ratio. So if we do 1050 over 5250, that would give us a percentage of how far we are in that bracket, which is what we need here. And so for that, we need to apply the calculation. Basically, we do 2 minus from, and that gives 15. And then we multiply by the ratio that we obtain. So the thing where I said how far we are in that bracket. And if we compute it, we get 3000. So that means that we are 3000 away from 15,000 in that bracket. And so that means that the net is simply, not the net, but the gross, sorry, is simply 5,000 plus 3,000, which give 18,000. So that would be the gross, the thing on which we will be taxed. So we need to compute the net. And the net is easy to calculate because it's the gross minus the taxes. And that gives, after some calculation, 14,050. And that was the answer that we were looking for. So now we did answer the problem. Now here is an extra, is that we may be interested to know the effective tax. And the effective tax is how much we were taxed on the gross amount overall. So for that, we applied the classical formula gross minus net over gross, and we get some calculation to do. That would give 21.94%. And we see that it's way below 35. It's even below 25%. Because in that table, you can't never be taxed above 50%. It's just impossible. Even if you see the infinity sign, you will never reach the 50% because the average of your percentage will be always on the left of that 50. So yeah, that means you can't be taxed more. The only thing you can do is getting very, very, very close to 50% at the limits. So if you add an infinite amount of money. Now, if you see in some country, including Belgium, you will see that people can be taxed like 80%, even if they can only be taxed 50% according to that table. And that's because there are concurrent taxes. So you can be taxed many times on the same things. As an instance, if I earn 100 euro, or to make it simple, now I will keep 100. And let's say I'm taxed at 50%, then I have only $50. And then these $50, when I will spend them, for everything I will buy, there will be a 21% tax. So my $50 are worth less than $50 because every price has been jacked up by 21%. So that's an extra taxation. And then if we cumulate the two, we would be like 65-70% of effective taxation. But you have also other taxes that can creep in, like water that is taxed for cleaning and stuff like that, and transport. Yeah, so these are all cumulative taxes. And if you look at when you get 100 euro, how much your boss has to pay, you will see that he has paid twice the same amount. So all of this makes that if your boss could pay you directly without taxes, you would have like 300 euro, but you end up with less than 100 euro, and that means that 75% disappeared. Or yeah, so that's the thing. And that's why you will hear people saying that they're taxed more than what the tax is, allez, from what's possible if you look at the tables. That's because these people, including me, take into account all the taxes and not just one tax. That's the thing to pay attention to. And I hope that this problem and a bit of discussion around the taxes were interesting, and that now you have a better idea on how you compute the effective tax and yeah, how it works, because that's not simple, even if it looks simple.